All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is John Nerrell. This is my weekly Facebook Live show. Today is show number 76, and the title is, What Are You Telling Yourself About Your Career? So in today's episode, what we're going to talk about are the stories we tell ourselves around our career and our career journey, and ultimately how well those stories serve us. So if you've been here before, I want to welcome you. This is actually a different feature on BeLive.tv where I broadcast these Facebook Lives from. And so it's a little bit different, and I'm trying to figure out some of the technical stuff on my end. So as you're coming into the room, I just simply want to welcome you. If you've been here before, it is great to have you back. If this is your first time joining me live, all of these Facebook Lives are housed here on my Facebook page, as well as my YouTube channel and my website, where each week I come to you and talk to you about a different leadership and career topic. And with that, if you happen to go to my website at johnnerrell.com/free, I've got a great resource there. It's called 3 Steps to Creating Your Next Advancement Opportunity Without Feeling Overwhelmed. It's an e-workbook designed to help you listen, lean in, and step forward as you create whatever is next for your career. And once you fill out the form to get the e-workbook, it'll also put you into my email community, where I email everyone each week about a different leadership and career topic. All right. So as we get started today, let's acknowledge that we all have a story. We do. It is the story that we love to tell when it comes to our career. The ups, the downs, the successes, the challenges, the highlights, and maybe sometimes we even share about the things that didn't necessarily go really well for us. But it is our story. When I work with people who are in career transition, we get really clear about what their story is, because behind that story is the story about who they are as a professional. And as a professional, it is so important that we focus not just on what you do, but more specifically on who you are. It's what you bring to the table. It's where your value and your impact shine differently than anybody else. I will never forget when I started my teaching career, my district coordinator pulled me aside and he complimented me on the job I was doing, but he also said to me this. He said, look, just never forget that you can be replaced. He said, look, it's not that you're not doing a great job and we're thrilled to have you here. He goes, we love you, you're doing a great job. But if you were to walk out this door and something were to happen to you to cause you to not come back, we would need to put somebody else in your position. So never forget that. And it really brought me back a little bit just to remember why it's important to be grateful and humble in a position. And this was in the early part of my career, and I never forgot that lesson. But what it also taught me was that the way that we do our job, what we bring to the table that is really our story, is unique to us. Yeah, there's a lot of coaches that are out there. There's a lot of people in program management or sales or in leadership, as you're watching this, that do something pretty similar, if not maybe exactly what it is that you do. But what you do is unique to you. And that is what is part of your story. And so when we talk about that story, what are you telling yourself? Are you being brutally honest with yourself in terms of what's working, what's not, and what you're learning? Or are you just sugarcoating it to make yourself feel better? When you get together with your colleagues or your friends or your loved ones at home, how accurately are you telling your story? Look, they're all our cheerleaders. We want them to be our cheerleaders, but sometimes we need them to be a critical friend as well. And so in that story, what are you telling yourself? How honest are you truly being? So with that, I want to tell you this. You are responsible for your career. Nobody else is. Not the organization, not your boss, not your coworkers, not your family. You. You alone are 100% responsible for your career. If you're looking for somebody out there to be a bigger cheerleader than you are without your career, you're not going to find it. And if you do, there's something missed, because you need to be the one who is advocating the most for your career. Now, I'm not saying this means that you got to walk into your boss and tell them you're the best thing since sliced bread and you've got all the skills and this organization would be lost without you and blah, blah, blah. You know how that story goes. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is know your worth, know your value, know your impact, and know where you are needed because of your skill sets and your talents. When you fully embrace that you are 100% responsible for your career, you make things happen. You make things happen because that's what needs to happen next in your career. It doesn't matter whether you stay at an organization or you get a better offer with a 20% raise to go somewhere else. You are responsible for your career. And so how are you taking action on that? What are the things that you are doing that exemplify why you are the biggest advocate for your career? If you are waiting for someone to champion your cause, you need to really take a look at that. Yes, people will go to bat for you. People will advocate for you, maybe to get a promotion or to get a bigger raise. But the conversation needs to start with you. I don't know if you've ever had a boss tell you to leave an organization because it just wasn't the right fit or that you were meant to go somewhere else. Maybe that's part of your story or maybe it's not. But I remember when I was a freshman in college, I was taking macroeconomics and I was trying so hard to get this material. And I had studied really hard for the first exam and I got a 64 on it. And D's were not part of my academic profile growing up. So this one hit me kind of hard. And I thought, okay, I need to really buckle down and study for the midterm and make sure I do really better on the next test and the next exam and everything. And I studied so hard for it. I studied with friends. I had, quiz partners, the whole bit, you name it, I did it. And I went and took the exam and I actually felt I did pretty well on it. I got a 32. I kid you not. Not only did I fail it, I magnificently failed it. And so I go to my professor and I said, I just don't understand what's going on. I studied for this. I studied really hard for this. I want to be an accountant. And she looked at me and she goes, honey, this is not for you. And I was like, what do you mean? And she goes, you don't have it. You need to go do something else. And that stung. But the truth of the matter was, she was right. It wasn't where my strength was. And so even at that early point, I recognized that I needed to be the one that was making the right decisions for me. I could take all the feedback and the input, but ultimately I am the one that's responsible for my academic career, my professional career, whatever that all looks like. And I'm going to live and die by the decisions I make because I truly believe that I am making the best decisions for me at the moment. Do you feel the same way? Do you make the best decisions for your career at this moment? And if you're not, let's examine why. Let's examine what you're telling yourself as to why you are not being the best advocate you can be for your career. So what's your story behind the story? Here's what I mean by that. We all tell a story. But in that story, there's another story. Maybe you have a boss you don't really get along with or you don't like. Or maybe you're working on a project with a difficult client or a difficult colleague and you're not seeing eye to eye. Maybe you're doing work just for the sake of going through the motions and you're telling people, yeah, work's great, when deep down inside you absolutely hate it. Maybe you've been laid off. Maybe you're fearful of an upcoming reorganization and you're not sure where you're going to land. Or maybe you're being faced with an early retirement package and you're not sure whether or not you're going to take it, or let alone even be offered it. Whatever your story is, there's another story behind it. When I work with people and they say to me, I want to find a new job, the question I always want to ask them is, why? And they'll say, well, I just want to go do something else or whatever. Why? I want to get really into the weeds with them in terms of why this particular career transition or this move is so specific to them. Because in order for me to help them as their coach, I need to know the full story. I need to ask them the questions that are going to get them to open up to tell me the full story. You know what? So your boss doesn't like you. Why? Maybe it's because you've missed 3 deadlines, or maybe because you messed up a project. Is that really the case, that your boss doesn't like you? Or is it because you just haven't done quality work? Or when people say it's just not the right fit, okay, well, why? Why isn't it the right fit? What is it that doesn't fit? Is it you, or is it them, or is it both? But there's a story behind the story. And so it's important, if you're going to be brutally honest with yourself about where you are in this career transition and the story you are telling yourself about your career, if you're going to be brutally honest with yourself, you've got to take a look at the whole story and not sugarcoat any of it. Yep. Maybe you are the best employee to ever hit that organization and they don't see it. Great. What do you want to do about it? How do you want to pivot? Where do you want to move? Where are you going to go? Maybe you got assigned to a project that you considered to be less than your abilities. And so you're just angry about it. Well, how come I didn't get the bigger project? Why did I get assigned to this one? I feel as if I got demoted. Why'd you get put there? You can speculate all day long as to why you got there. The question is, did you go and ask somebody for the reason as to why? And what did they tell you? Right before I opened my coaching practice full time, I had a very direct conversation with my VP. I think I've shared it before in previous episodes, but I think it's noteworthy for me to share this with you again. There were questions that I needed to have answered because I am 100% responsible for my career. And I needed to know what my story was from their eyes in terms of where my career path was headed. I was doing good work. I wasn't at risk of being fired, but I also felt that I was being undervalued and underutilized. And so I asked my boss a very direct question about my career path. The conversation started off like this. I need to ask you a question. And I want to ask you this question because I trust you and I know you'll give me an honest answer. May I ask? And when I got her permission to do so, here's what I said. I believe that at this point in time, my career path here is at best horizontal. And while I'm not at risk of getting fired or laid off today, the truth of the matter is that I feel like I'm being undervalued and underutilized because maybe the people above you don't fully understand what I do, what I bring to the table, or appreciate exactly what it is that I do. And so they don't know how to utilize me. And because of that, what that means is that I'm not going to see a promotion. I'm not going to see a raise. I'm certainly not going to get a bonus. And while I can certainly stay here and continue to do the work that I like doing, the truth of the matter is I'm not really going anywhere. How accurate is that? There was this dead silence in the room for a few seconds. And she looked at me and she said, it's not that I haven't tried. They just don't get what it is that you do. Okay. Thank you. And then she said to me, you're very smart. You're correct. I wish it were different, but you're correct. That was all the information I needed. And I was so grateful that I got that information, because when I did, I could move forward. And a couple months later, when I walked into her office and I gave her my resignation, I did so with a lot of gratitude. And I did so saying to her that I had an opportunity to serve more people on the outside than I did inside. And right around this time, 2 years ago, was when I had that conversation. And I was raw, and I was vulnerable, and I was scared, and I was concerned about what the heck this was all going to look like. But I got through it. And the story behind my story was that, yeah, I was liked and I wasn't valued. But if I wanted to go and do something bigger than what I was already doing, I needed to take ownership of my career. I needed to take ownership of it and go after what it is that I wanted. And that's what I want for you in your career, whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're working for a big corporation, a nonprofit, you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, you're looking to start your own business, whatever that is, there is a story behind what it is that you're doing. Tell it. Tell it authentically and truthfully. And whatever the circumstance is, this is what I challenge you to think of. What if the circumstance behind your story was neutral? What if there was no emotion behind it? What if it was simply a circumstance that you needed to work through to deal with in order to help tell your story better? We don't get promoted for a job. We're angry, we're upset. They don't like me. I'm not their favorite. I don't play the game. Whatever the reasons are, how true are they? How willing are you to be able to take all the emotion out of that circumstance, make it neutral, and get the information that you need? How willing and open are you to either do that or get some coaching around it? But when we make the circumstance neutral, we get to look at it from a completely different place. It's not easy, but it's possible. And so that's where a lot of the career transition coaching that I help my clients with, we spend time talking about what the circumstances are and how they can navigate them moving forward to better their career, to strengthen who they are as a professional, what values they get to honor day in and day out simply because of the work that they get to do. What would it look like for you if you just made the circumstance neutral? How would you look at that circumstance differently because you took all the emotion out of it? So with that, think about the story that you've got. Think about the story that you're telling, and think about where you want the story to go. There's a full arc in terms of this career transition where we start listening and we start leaning into what it is that we want to do, and we begin to take action on that. But the arc as it continues is when you actually go and you press submit on an application. You go to a networking event and you give your pitch. You go to an interview or a phone screen and you tell your story about what it is you do, whom you help, what you help them do specifically, why it's important to you, and why you are valued in the work that you get to do. And more importantly, based on your skill set, how do you get to help them solve their problems as evident by the job posting? Maybe that's what you're really good at in your career. But whatever it is, it's your story. I hope you get to tell it. And I hope you get to tell it sooner than later. If you want to talk more about this, if you want to talk more about your story and how to position it in such a way that it leverages your talents and expertise, that showcases your core values and who you are as a professional, we should talk. So go ahead and email me at john@johnnerrell.com, or put a message in this video, whatever it might be. But contact me and let's set up a phone call so we can talk. We can talk and see how you want to package your story moving forward. I wish you a great rest of the day. Thank you for watching. If you've liked the video, give it a thumbs up or place a comment in the box below. And I look forward to seeing you next week with another leadership and career topic. Until next time, have a great rest of the day.